Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Jasper sent me notes. Steve, check out this story. It's from Wisconsin, postcrescent.com, ran it, written by Tom Kircher of Wisconsin Watch. Special prosecutor weighing whether to criminally charge a county judge. A special prosecutor expects to decide in early September whether to take the extraordinary step of filing criminal charges against an Appleton area judge over his actions from the bench. The special prosecutor declined further comment to Wisconsin Watch when asked what was going on there. But Wisconsin Watch had reported back in January of last year that the judge's actions were the focus of a Wisconsin Department of Justice criminal investigation that had been ongoing. The March 2024 appointment had not been previously reported prior to now. The judge jailed a cement contractor in December of 2021 over a private dispute that was not a matter before the court. Think about this. So the man appeared before the judge for a probation review hearing on a matter that involved fleeing an officer. But at the probation review hearing, the judge accused the man of stealing money from a customer in his cement contracting business. And it turns out that that customer works in the same courthouse for a different judge. And so it looks like this judge is doing a favor for another judge who has somebody working for them who says, that guy ripped me off, and I hear he's going to be in front of you. Can you do something about that? So the man had not been arrested or even charged with theft. The judge ordered him jailed for 90 days, saying he'd release him as soon as he repaid the customer. So the man told Wisconsin Watch, I think it's definitely crazy. Just lock a guy up with no charge, no pending charge, no nothing, and then get away with it. So the 32-year-old resident said he spent 3 days in jail before an attorney intervened and persuaded the judge to release him. And the man says, I just don't think the guy should be able to do this to anyone else. Now, the man did settle the dispute with the customer, and an attorney advised him it would be difficult to win civil damages against the judge because of judicial immunity. But the man's waiting to see what happens with the criminal case before deciding whether to pursue a federal civil rights lawsuit. The judge did not reply to requests seeking comment. So again, to make sure this is clear, the judge has a man before him, and they're simply reviewing probation on a matter that's got nothing to do with cement work. But the judge says, I understand you owe this other person money, and if you don't pay them back right now, I'm throwing you in jail. The judge throws that man in jail, and he spends 3 days in jail before the judge changes his mind. And what's he thrown in jail for? Well, it can't be for not paying or not doing concrete work because no charges were ever filed. So theoretically, the judge has the right to put someone in jail if they violate their probation. Yeah, that might work, but this wasn't a violation of his probation. So the man, the judge, was first elected in 2005. It's been reelected each time, but without opposition. Most recently reelected in April of 2023 for a term that runs through 2029. And keep in mind that Wisconsin judgeships are nonpartisan. So it's not like you're a Republican running for judge or a Democrat running for judge, but you often do signal certain things to indicate which party ought to vote for you. So the special prosecutor has been working for quite some time, 30 years in that role, including 18 as the La Crosse County District Attorney. He was appointed as special prosecutor by the Circuit Court in March 2024 after the local county district attorney determined it would be a conflict of interest for her to handle the case. Now, legal experts agree that judges have unparalleled latitude for taking away someone's liberty if the person's on probation. But invoking criminal penalties to compel an action in an unrelated dispute goes beyond a judge's lawful authority. Now, I'll be fair. Tom Kircher, who wrote the article, says arguably goes beyond a judge's lawful authority. And he's couching that because a judge can't simply look at somebody and go, oh, because you're in front of me, I can throw you in jail for something else besides why you're here. No. So if I was writing this article from scratch, I would delete the word arguably. But I'm assuming that as a journalist, Tom Kircher wants to balance the story as much as possible, and I have no problem with that, but it's just a nuance. So meanwhile, an adjunct professor at Marquette University Law School who studies judicial history said he's not aware of any instance in which a sitting Wisconsin judge was charged with a crime for actions taken as a judge. Because we hear about judges getting in trouble just like normal people, drunk driving, things like that. And we've had some other crazier stuff happen. But the point is, judges have lives outside of the courtroom, and they sometimes get in trouble for that kind of stuff. But for a judge on the bench to issue a ruling, to have that be used against them, someone say that was a crime for you to make that ruling, that's extremely rare. So the executive director of the Wisconsin Judicial Commission also said he's not aware of any such case, at least not Wisconsin. Since 1978, the Judicial Commission has been the body responsible for investigating complaints against judges, which are then referred to the state Supreme Court because the state Supreme Court runs the court system in the state. The state Supreme Court in Wisconsin has published 31 decisions that carry some form of punishment, often a reprimand, including several for actions taken from the bench regarding judges. A Marquette University law professor said that it's unlikely, but the judge could be charged with misconduct in public office because state law prohibits, among other things, officials knowingly exceeding their lawful authority. So that could be done here, could be. But a referral to the Judicial Commission seems more likely, and the commission could also investigate on its own and launch an investigation. So in Michigan, it's the Judicial Tenure Commission. Here it's the Judicial Commission, but they are overseen by a body that's put together by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court then reviews the findings of that commission. But the guy goes in front of the judge, and the hearing is simply to review his probation. And the judge goes, I understand that you ripped off a customer. And the customer just happens to work for another judge in the same building. And he says, I'm going to throw you in jail because I think you ripped that customer off. Now, if he had ripped a customer off, theoretically, he could be charged with it and then tried for it. No charges filed, no trial. But off to jail you go. This is the kind of thing that really, in my mind, makes the judiciary look really, really bad. Because most people have this fundamental understanding of how our courts work. And you get charged with a crime. You get arrested. There's a whole process you go through. And later on, you show up in court for a pretrial conference, and then maybe an arraignment, or maybe in the other order. And then eventually you have a trial by a jury of your peers, and the jury decides if you're guilty or not. They decide the facts of the case, and the judge sentences you. Here, the judge just says, let's skip all that stuff and go straight to the sentencing. You're going to jail. Is that a problem? Yes, it's a problem. How does something like this happen? It's crazy. It's crazy. And what's even crazier is the guy's been on the bench now for 20 years. 20 years. And so I will tell you, in 34 years of practicing law, I've been in front of a lot of judges. I can tell you good judges, I can tell you bad judges. And the real outliers at both ends, the ones that are really, 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 really good, and the ones that are really, 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 really bad. Most of the judges are in the meaty part of the curve where they're just okay. They're average. They're good. They do their jobs. Nothing remarkable. You go in front of the judge, get a ruling, you leave, and a week later you're like, I forgot what judge that was. But the extreme outliers, the really, really bad ones, tend to be really, really bad. And it comes from that old adage about power corrupts. Because a judge on the bench in their courtroom is almost like a god. They can do anything they want, and there is no check on their power, except the Court of Appeals, who's not watching what they're doing at the time. And so I've seen judges do things that they knew were going to get overturned and spun around so fast by a court on appeal that it was going to be a joke. But they knew that, oh, you appeal what I did here today? Have fun. You'll be back in 2 years. Because in Michigan, appeals to the Michigan Court of Appeals often do take 2 years. And so it's kind of like, if a cop arrests you knowing the arrest isn't going to stick. Bad judge can just go, see you in 2 years. And it's wrong. It's wrong. So something, assuming these facts are correct, something needs to be done to this judge. And despite the fact that they've never done it before in Wisconsin, apparently, they could charge this guy with a crime. Personally, I think they should. So we'll see what happens. Jasper, thanks for sending it. Tom Kircher wrote that for the postcrescent.com. And to be clear here, this report by him for Wisconsin Watch was the first report that a special prosecutor had been appointed and is looking into this, and that's a big deal. So special prosecutor weighing whether to criminally charge a county judge in Wisconsin. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Press any key except no, not that one.